In Infinite Gauntlet, the turn order is really important. If your monsters go first, you have a much higher chance of passing the node. This is where the concept of baiting comes in. The basic idea of baiting is to send in bait monsters so that the enemy is forced to use their stamina. How you do this is you send in between 1 to 3 monsters. These monsters take a hit from the enemy or multiple enemies and die, and you repeat this until the stamina of the target enemy, normally the fastest monster, is drained of their stamina, and after this you send in your main team and that target enemy will recharge on the first turn, giving you control of the battle. When should you bait? The answer to this is anytime you want a monster to recharge. Let's look at an example of when to bait. On this node, you can see there are 3 monsters that are very fast. The slowest is Renata at 23,855, and over on my side, Tabora is 19,538 and Latalis is 19,531. So my monsters are slower and will not go first, so therefore this is a good node for me to bait on. The first method to bait is bait using monsters. This is the simplest method where you send in any monsters. The runes and relics do not matter, but it does take the most number of monsters. In this example, I'm sending 3 monsters that are some of my lowest levels with the lowest runes, and I'm saving up my monsters with Uriel's Essence. Because I had 3 monsters at the beginning, I also have to bait with 3 monsters. Fight, and Rahane will kill all of them. You also want to take note of which skill is used so you know how many more times you need to stamina drain. In this case, he has used Draconis Sorcerer, which costs 53 stamina. Now that our 3 monsters are dead, we want to send in another bait, but this time we only send in 1 bait and we put this bait in the middle. Now that 3 monsters are dead, we need to replace the middle monster. Notice that the middle monster is Witch Cat because I baited 1 more time, and Nahane used Draconis Sorcerer again. This is interesting because Draconis Sorcerer is an area attack and we only have 1 monster. Let's put another monster in and see what happens. A variation you can do is to send in a monster with Uriel's Essence. What this means is that 2 monsters will have to attack you, right? And we have slowed it down to 1 speed so we can see the attack a little bit easier. Circuit of the Souls. So the attack does change. And Daigal uses DL6. The reason why we take notice of what attacks they use is so that we know exactly how much stamina they have left. You can see on the screen that Rahane's stamina is a little bit past halfway, but we don't know exactly how much, so we have to do the calculation. So all enemies without stamina runes and without stamina buffs start with 280 stamina. Rahane started with 280, minus 53 from Draconis Sorcerer, minus another 53 from another Draconis Sorcerer, and minus 46 from a Secret of the Soul. Doing the math, we know that Rahane is now on 128 stamina, which is 2 more attacks. So we will now send 2 more monsters, and Rahane will have to recharge on her first turn. Draconis Sorcerer again. And Draconis Sorcerer 1 more time. Going back in, you can see Nahane's stamina is very, very low. Her stamina is 22, and when we look at Nahane's skill set, she has a 22 as a default skills. The Gauntlet monsters do not run the default skills, mostly from Group 2 and Group 3, but sometimes also from Group 1. Looking at the stamina, 32, 29, 46, 46, 51, 53, all of those skills are above 22, so she can no longer attack us. A more efficient way to bait monsters quickly is by using relics. When you do switch relics around, it does cost gold to put them on. A level 40 diamond relic costs 4 million gold to transfer across. There are 2 important things you need to consider to determine whether or not your relic will trigger. The first thing is, if your monster holding the relic dies, the relic will not trigger. This includes Rotten's Trap. For Rotten's Trap, the monster holding the Rotten's Trap must survive, but the allies can die to trigger the relic. The second important thing is to make sure the conditions on the specific relics are satisfied. When baiting a single enemy, you want to use defensive relics such as masks, shields, and armors. To bait a single enemy, the best relic to use is Iltron's Mask. Looking at the condition, it says after being damaged by a skill, any skill that does damage removes 300 points of stamina from the attacker at level 40. All you need to do is stack life on your monster and make sure your monster survives. The next best relic to use to drain single enemies is Thetis Armor. Looking at the condition, after being damaged by a skill, any skill, if wearer's stamina is above 75%, which will always be the case when you send in a new monster, removes 264 points of stamina from the attacker at level 36. Similar to Iltron's Mask, stack life on your monster and make sure it survives. Another really good stamina draining relic for single enemies is Wang Xiao's Shield. Looking at the condition, after being damaged by a skill, if wearer's life is below 75%, removes 273 points of stamina from attacker at level 37, and it does have 2 uses. When you want to drain 2 or 3 enemies, it's best to use a relic that drains stamina from all. Nabulaine's Trap is the best relic for this. At level 40, after being damaged by a skill, if the wearer's life is below 50%, it removes 180 points of stamina from all enemies. Another option is Oblation Trap, which is the gold version. After being damaged by a skill, if wearer's life is below 50%, it removes 108 points of stamina from all enemies. Nabulaine's and Oblation Trap can be used together for a full stamina drain. Rotten's Trap can be very useful if you send in 2 monsters. Looking at the condition in the bottom half, after being damaged by a skill, if any ally is defeated, so Rotten must take damage and a ally must be defeated, removes 180 points of stamina from all enemies. So the best way to use this is to send Rotten plus another throwaway Eurus holder, because then you can use that twice. That's 360 stamina drained. What's this mask can be used, but it is very situational. After being damaged by a skill, if wearer is under a control status, possessed, frozen, or stunned, such as Varapapu, removes 214 points of stamina from all enemies at level 35. Baiting using relics does take a little bit of practice because there is a small timing window where you have to exit the battle, otherwise the monster will recharge and the bait was unsuccessful. To bait, it is a 4-step process. Step 1, enter the battle clicking fight. Step 2, in the top left corner, click on 1 speed if it's not already on 1 speed. Step number 3, in the top right corner, click the X button. Step 4, and this is the trickiest step where the timing has to be on point, is to click on the yes button that confirms to exit the battle. In terms of the timing, what you're looking for is for the white cloud around your bait monster to disappear, or for the text that says remove stamina to disappear, and then exit. I find it a little bit easier to look for the white cloud because the timing is a little bit faster. Let's now look at an example using Eeltron's mask to bait a single enemy. We are using a level 110 Spitfire with 3 level 7 life runes and Eeltron's mask equipped. Fight. 1 speed, X, wait for the cloud. Cloud disappeared, exit. When we have a look back in, notice that Nahane has recharged on the first turn and then Daigo attacked, removing all of his stamina. We now have 2 options. Option 1 is to drain Nahane again using a single enemy relic like Eeltron's mask again. And option 2 is to either send 2 monsters with single traps or 1 monster with double trap, which will drain Nahane and Renata. But you may need to use those trap monsters later on in the gauntlet, so the better option is to go in and do a single drain. I'm going in with a level 110 Spawny with 3 level 7 life runes. If your Spawny needs a little bit more health, you can also add an armor. Fight. 1 on, X, wait for the cloud. Nahane attacks. Remove stamina, cloud, exit. When we go back in, notice Nahane and Daigo are both stamina drained. I know that my Bombator can take 1 hit from Renata, so I can now go in with my Bombator team. Notice that my monsters are slower, but Nahane and Daigo will have to recharge on the first turn, and Renata will be able to attack. Recharge, recharge, and Renata used a Mega Taunt. When you are baiting with relics, a common problem is, do I have enough life for the relic to trigger? If it's a trap, will I be below 50%? If it's a Wang Zhao shield, will I be below 75%? And if it's a relic where you just have to take damage, will I survive the attack? So this is where the damage calculator does come in handy. Now let's look at an example where you want to bait either 2 or 3 enemies. This is when you use a relic that drains stamina from all enemies. When the enemies have both single and area attacks, the safest way to do this is to first go in with 3 monsters you don't need. Notice that there was 1 AoE and 3 single target attacks. And now we can go in with Henrik, which will be our bait monster to remove stamina from all 3 monsters. There's a 42 Black Feather and a 41 Targon, so we want to bait both of those. Our Henrik has 895,000 health, so let's use the calculator to see if that's enough. If Black Feather does his single eyes curse, we will have enough HP because that's 745,000 damage. For Targon, if he attacks, we are in trouble because that's almost 1.2 million damage. 1x. Wait for the cloud. 1 remove stamina. 2 remove stamina, cloud, exit. Now all 3 monsters are fully stamina drained. Now that you know how to bait, all you need to do is practice. The links for the MLG Discord and the calculator are both in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out one of these 2 videos over here. And if you think Wubby Gaming videos will help one of your friends grow, make sure to share with them as well. And I will see you next time.